I'm Lauren Brickley, Vice President of Sales with MobileFuse. We help brands like New Balance reach consumers across mobile, CTV, and moments that matter. If you come to a lot of these events, I'm sure you're wondering when I'm going to have this baby. Very soon. This is it for me. I'm hanging it up after this. Not for good, just for maternity leave. And I'm so excited to be here today with Frank and Ryan. I will let you guys just introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about your roles.
Awesome, sounds good. So Ryan Cassidy, Senior Marketing Manager at New Balance, and I am on the global media team at New Balance, and I oversee organic social media and also global paid media strategy.
It's a little stuck under there.
There you go. Off to a good start. I'm Frank Clyburn. Not to be this guy, but recently the head of brand and lifestyle marketing for North America. So I guess I did something right last year to get promoted. So work on the North America team, really focused on just how we speak to our consumers in the best and most engaging way, and again, how do we craft the narratives and storytelling to connect with them. So that's across brand, lifestyle, all of our sports. So really fun job.
Amazing. I'm realizing we have our clicker because we have some fun content to show. Would this be the clicker? It's you. There you go. Well, I'm really excited for this conversation today because New Balance, as everybody knows, has really blown up in the last few years. I think, when we used to think about New Balance, it was maybe more comfort, functionality, the dad shoe, if I dare say a little bit. And now in the last couple of years, it has really become an it brand. The coolest shoe to wear. I wear so many New Balances, I try to be cool. And I think a lot of that has to do with the work that your teams have done, specifically when it comes to storytelling and social sharing. So that's what we're going to talk about today and show some great data on how these guys and their teams have done that. So my first question, one of the things that I love about New Balance is just the authentic partnerships that you've developed with, whether it's your celebrities, your athletes. Those partnerships really feel authentic. I think it's pretty easy to tell when a brand and an athlete don't really resonate. They're not really eating that snack. But at New Balance, you guys really have, you've done a great job of making that really authentic to the consumer. Can you share some ways that then you build that content and share that back out with the consumer to let them know that these athletes, these partnerships are real?
Of course. So at New Balance, we are big fans of show, don't tell, and we have a Sizzle Reel that we brought along that helps tee up the answer to this question.
The guy that can fix it is coming. We know it. You want to talk about it a little as they get that fired back up?
Yeah, of course. And we don't need the reel. But if the reel had played, what it would show you is all these amazing athletes, the best athletes in the world are wearing New Balance. And that was really, demonstrated in this reel. But to your point, our athletes, our ambassadors, the authentic partnerships that we have with them has really become the tip of the spear for our marketing communications. And it's funny because, back in the late 80s, early 90s, New Balance actually proudly declared, endorsed by no one. And now flash forward to today, and, again, the greatest athletes in the world are wearing New Balance. It's really a testament to the consumer insights that New Balance has done over the years, really understanding that, our target audience is heavily influenced by athletes, ambassadors that, really live at the intersection of sport and culture. And, big, shout out to our sports marketing team and our athlete activation team for, identifying, signing athletes that have our, New Balance brand values, fearless independence within their DNA. So these are partnerships that feel very authentic because they are authentic. We're not like category competitors that might treat athletes like hired paid mercenaries. When we sign athletes, we welcome them to the New Balance family. And that's very intentional, that language. When you see us post about a new athlete announcement joining the brand, we say, welcome to the New Balance family. And, they are true partners in sort of co-creating our brands because, they, do everything from inspire new product design to, wear testing to, help provide tech insights that go into making the most considered products in the world. And then all the way through to, co-authoring our marketing, campaigns with them. And then athletes actually become distribution channels in their own right because we are often collaboratively posting with the athletes, athletes, ambassadors, they're resharing our posts, they're creating content, they're tagging New Balance. And so, yeah, it's, marketing nerds that we are, we often talk about brand distinctive assets. Oftentimes that means our logos, our fonts, our brand colors, but in recent years, featuring our face of brand athletes in our campaigns and, celebrating these big moments with them, that really has, driven up the association between those athletes and our brand. And, those athletes, those sports that they represent, those moments that we're celebrating, they really become category entry points into New Balance. And as a result, kind of co-authoring the brand with our athletes, that's really helped drive our brand growth in recent years.
Yeah, I would just add, one of the key words you use is partnership. And I know that, shout out to the sports marketing, even our entertainment teams, it's really, when we look at new athletes or new ambassadors in the entertainment space to sign with New Balance, it's very much, again, tying back to those connected brand values. And I think anytime we work on a campaign or an event or any sort of storytelling with them, it's a two-way street. We truly meet in the middle. We hear each other out. We obviously already have that connectivity established from the beginning. But I think through some partnerships, shout out to our Mediahub team. Jamal Murray last year, a huge NBA player, won the championship in 2023. We did a partnership with Slam. And it was really to shine a light on our basketball category, our athletes. But we asked Jamal, what do you want to talk about? What are you interested in speaking about? And, he's had a very intricate role in designing what we call PEs or player exclusives. So what he wears on court. And what I didn't know is how involved he was, how involved his dad was in the process of, the colors and the story behind, everything from a style that represented his hometown in Canada to he loves video games, so he created player exclusives tied to that. And so when we partnered with Slam, it was all about the storytelling of, how he would get in a room with the design team and create these narratives and these stories and bring them to life in an authentic way. So we felt like that was a great way for not only New Balance to shine light on the basketball category, but to give Jamal an opportunity to share his story too. And then we have other ambassadors like Storm Reed, a musician Amine, who Storm grew up in Atlanta. She launched her own shoe last year. She wanted to shoot in Atlanta at some of her favorite hangout spots. We did that. For Amine, he's from Portland. He wanted to go back to his hometown and really shed light on, again, where he's from. And we did it in a way that made sense for both New Balance and him. And we think the consumer really resonated with it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you could feel that authenticity. I know when I saw Elle St. Pierre running 9 months pregnant, I thought, I need those sneakers. I mean, I'm not running, but she's an Olympic athlete, for those of you that don't know, that works with New Balance. And, you really feel that authenticity, so that's great. But, there's still a lot of competition in the marketplace. You're talking about the Nikes, the Pumas, the Adidas. You guys have done a really great job of closing that gap. But how are you using your content to extend beyond your own platforms to continue to gain market share?
Yeah, competition is definitely fierce in the category, and that's probably because we have a little brand called Nike in the category, and it's a testament to Nike in that they have been able to build their brands and significant marketing investment over the years, so much so to the point where now I feel like it's almost human nature where if you sign up to a new platform, one of the first brands you follow is Nike. And so that's just, transparently, that's something that a headwind that we have to contend against at New Balance. Nike, if we look at their Instagram followers, it's 300 million strong. New Balance, we have 7.5 million followers. And we've been growing, really rapidly over the past couple of years. But it is something that we think about, and even though Nike has 30 times the amount of followers as New Balance does right now on Instagram, we still very much benchmark ourselves against them because we do want to be a top global athletic brand in the space. And so one of the things that we do is it's actually unique in the category where, when you think about Nike, you think about Adidas, Puma, obviously they're spending boatloads of money on dark paid social ads, but they're not really amplifying the organic content that they're posting. And so what we've done over the past few years is we've sort of, adopted this unique strategy in the category where we are boosting the content that we are posting. We are promoting that to the most relevant audiences in the most relevant markets. And as a result, that has helped us really punch above our weight class. No longer are we, subject to just I feel like everybody knows this stat, but 10 to 12% of your followers ever see, an organic post that you make. And so what this boosting strategy has allowed us to do is really scale the content and get out there to relevant audiences. I actually have a slide here. So yeah, I think that this one kind of sums it up in a nutshell. So 7.5 million followers New Balance has. When we post organically, that 10%, 15%, we're reaching about 1 million of those followers, which is actually really, really strong when you think about that, 8 to 10% stat that I threw out. But when we're boosting that, we are getting out there to about, 20 million people. And, as a result, when we are reaching new audiences and we are, really trying to grow the brand in that way beyond just our own channels, as a byproduct of that, we are seeing all of those engagements, all of those views, all of those likes, comments, they all aggregate onto that initial post. So when someone is scrolling through their feed, and they see a post from New Balance that has hundreds of thousands of likes, that has millions of views, it makes that post feel bigger. It makes that moment feel more noteworthy. People are more likely to pay attention. There's definitely a social proof effect going on there. It lends itself to cultural imprinting. And, an example that, you can make, it's like, that's why McDonald's has, billions and billions of customers served on their signs, because it's leaning into that social proof effect. And so what's really great about this is, so here are two posts, right around the same time in the US Open last year. And obviously a huge moment for New Balance. Coco Gauff won the US Open. And, we really celebrated this. We amplified this. We boosted this. What was great is we got almost double the amount of engagements here as Nike did when they posted something, right around the same time. And that's a brand that has 30 times more followers than New Balance. So yeah, again, that social proof effect, really building up the shared understanding in culture that the greatest athletes in the world are wearing New Balance. Again, that's a strategy that it leads into, it's not so much that you've seen something, it's that other people have seen it as well. So really building up that sort of cultural imprinting effect is kind of how we've approached that.
Smart, I love it. So we're looking mostly at Instagram here. When we're talking about cross-platform, are you guys thinking about content or athletes differently based off of the social platform that you're executing on?
Can you start?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. No, listen, I know we have consumer insights and analytics are a really big part of what we do, and we're very consumer obsessed. So we're constantly learning what they're interested in, how they're engaging with the brand, what they want to see from us. And so one big topic that we always talk through is when we're building content, when we're telling these stories, we know that the same content or content that works well on Instagram would not necessarily work well on TikTok. And so just like our consumers don't just wear one shoe throughout the day or necessarily, if it's a running shoe, they may work out in the morning and then continue their day throughout. And I think it's just making sure that we understand how consumers are absorbing information from brands, but also we need to do it in a way where it feels authentic and connected to their day-to-day lives. And so, again, it goes back to having that deep understanding of, okay, what is their behavior on TikTok? What's the content they're engaging with? And how do we infuse our brand DNA into content to make it not so corporate-like? Obviously, we are a brand, and that's typically how we have to show up. But at the same time, finding unique and creative ways through partners, and using their voice as well to tell these stories on platforms where it makes sense. So I'm sure you have plenty to add here.
Yeah, definitely. And again, very, very much aware that we are in Mediahub's headquarters here. So I do want to give a big shout out to Mediahub because they have really helped us try to create the content that is going to be set up for success depending on what channel is going to be distributed. No longer are we jamming the same piece of content into every platform. And so something that Mediahub has helped us do is they've actually helped us organize what's going to become an annual session where we actually have each one of the platforms. So we have TikTok, Meta, Snapchat, Pinterest, Google. They all come in for an all-day workshop session where they are sharing best practices that they're seeing across, all brands. What's driving ad recall at the top of the funnel, what's driving, return on ad spend at the bottom of the funnel. And these are creative best practices that we now, have access to, that find their way into creative briefs so that we are truly creating content that is going to be most effective in each platform. And, it's not perfect yet. We're getting better and better as we go. But also, I think organically, we are getting better and better at this as well, too. So I have an example up here of what I'm talking about. So this was actually when we announced our new athlete, Endrick, at the end of 2023. So Endrick, generational football talent. He's going to be the heir apparent to Pele. But when we posted about Endrick, when we welcomed him into the New Balance family, we captured, beautiful portrait-style photography at a shoot that we posted to Instagram in this carousel. While on the set of that shoot, capturing Instagram photography, we just gave Endrick our iPhone. We had him talk into the camera, 10 seconds, just talking from the heart, what it meant to him to be joining New Balance. We posted both of these on the same day, and each one of these became our best performing posts on each platform. This Endrick one, it got over 30 million organic views. The Instagram one, it really, organic views, engagements, top of, all of our posts all time. And so that really showcases how, we are thinking about content differently by platform, leaning into the creative best practices of each platform and really taking a nuanced approach.
Yeah, I love that. So we're talking a lot about partnerships, but bringing it back to the consumer, one of the things that's come up a few times is just owning the moment with the consumer. I love that. That's what we do at MobileFuse. Can you share some ways that you're owning the moment with the consumer and really kind of taking over, whether it's their day, their week, their month, their brain? How are you guys doing that?
Do you want me to kick off? Yeah. Okay, so, and I actually have all these slides, stuff to look at. So we very much think about owning the moment, to your point. And, we're a brand where right now our upper funnel brand campaign that you're seeing, in TV, around big shared moments on broadcast in sporting events, it signs off with the tagline, "We got now." And that's all about our athletes showcasing them at the peak of their game, having the most fun in the moment. And so what we do at New Balance, this is very much a big part of our strategy, is sort of owning and capitalizing and amplifying the moment. And so we have teams at New Balance. We have sports marketing team, athlete activation. We have our category marketing team, social teams, the regional teams, and we all come together and we map out what are those big tentpole moments for our athletes. So we are building out if-win plans, real-time activation if-win plans, weeks, months in advance of those actually happening. So we know, hey, there's a tennis major happening. We have, locked and loaded, how we're going to capture source and image in real time. We have the caption lined up. We know exactly, where we're going to boost. Frank and his team is working on securing out-of-home placements so that, if Coco does win, all of that goes, and it's all the planning in advance to capitalize on that moment. We're boosting it. We're really taking advantage of that. And then there's a merch element too, where we oftentimes will drop a limited edition, what becomes almost a collector's item T-shirt to celebrate that. And so it's almost become, we've almost kind of trained the consumer now where, when there is a big moment and we are posting something, one of the first comments that we see is, when is the shirt dropping? But I think it's a testament to the 360 planning that goes into, okay, what are these big moments? How are we going to maximize them? And then, it's off to the races. But, and this is, again, something that we're going to lean in even more heavily into as we approach the Olympics. And, again, I keep saying this, but, celebrating, showcasing that the best athletes in the world are wearing New Balance.
Yeah, I would just add, the Coco activations we did last year when she won the U.S. Open, it was, to Ryan's point, it's thinking through our We Got Now linear and streaming TV buys, all the way down to what is the site experience going to be if someone goes to newbalance.com as they're watching the U.S. Open and Coco play, making sure she's on our hero landing pages. We have social, obviously. We have T-shirts. We did a pop-up in New York City at one of our stores. And going back to the storytelling factor is, we asked Coco, if you had a pop-up, which we're doing for you, what would you want in it? And it was really talking through or showing what her favorite things are, from video games to getting her nails done. So, Coco, we heard you. We're going to give you and consumers the opportunity to understand and learn more about her off the court. So that's just one example of, again, the many ways that we try to make sure that we are thinking about repetition with the consumer. We know there's a lot that people are absorbing day to day and that they can forget our messages fairly quickly. So we need to make sure that we're, quote unquote, always on, and making sure that depending on, no matter what the platform is that they're absorbing New Balance through, we're present and we're timely and we're making sure that we're hitting them multiple times to really resonate with that We Got Now message.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you're asking Coco, for her personal input, not just designing something that really doesn't fit her personality, is going to resonate with her biggest fans even more as well. That's great. All right, well, I have one more question that's just standing between everybody and the turkey sandwich. So last year, you guys had an amazing year. You did $6.5 billion in sales. That's amazing. A lot of that, I think, can be attributed to what you guys are doing and your team's success. Do you want to share what you're most proud of?
I'll just say, Chris Davis, who is our CMO, SVP of Merchandising, he has tasked the team, or his team, to come up with what he calls 20% ideas. So those are the kind of risky, out there, maybe ideas that we all sit on, and we're like, I don't know if that would work, or I don't know if that would be approved. We have our tried and true. We know what works. We know what, is sort of fail-proof, for lack of better words. But I'm most proud of the opportunity to have those crazy, I call them shower moments. I don't know if anyone else is in the shower and they're like, oh my God, I have this amazing idea. That's me all the time. So, I usually bank those and think about the moments where, okay, maybe now is the time to put it out there. And of course, we have to do our checks and balances, but I think just making sure, or knowing that we have the freedom to try new things and to be a little bit daring and explore new territory makes it worth it. And then I think also we're a culture that thrives on learning from each other. So what I may do in North America may not necessarily be relevant to APAC, for example, but we make sure we share what each region's doing. And, a lot of times we'll say like, oh, that's really cool. I see that works. I think there's a way for me to do this in my region. And so we're a company based on, I think, just sharing knowledge. And I think for us, that's led us to the success we have today.
Yeah, going back to your point on the growth that we've seen in recent years. So I've been at New Balance 9 years now, and even the physical landscape of Brighton Landing, where New Balance is based, it looks way different now than it did 9 years ago. And we have state-of-the-art facilities there. The Bruins practice there, the Celtics practice there. We have the fastest indoor track in the world at New Balance campus, and so I feel like that's kind of like a physical manifestation of this massive growth that we've seen in recent years. And, we can see that in Google Trends also, New Balance compared to category competitors accelerating quicker and more search demand volume than any other brand in our category. So I hope that, I like to think that had a small hand in helping that growth. And one of the, one of the things I'm going back to the question, proudest of, I think probably helping influence the shape of spend at New Balance in terms of paid media investment. And so, I'm going to go. I feel like I'm rambling here, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a journey where I think 5 or 6 years ago, New Balance, like many other brands out there, prided ourselves on being digital first, and we are still digital first, but I think we took that to mean, chasing hyper efficiency, return on ad spend, click-through rates. And, efficiency didn't necessarily equate to effectiveness. And so, I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, a former manager of mine brought in to New Balance marketing organization a little book called How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp, and organized a marketing-wide book club. And so we all digested these lessons. We talked about how we can apply it to the business, and it was a little bit like taking the red pill from the Matrix, because here are all these like things that we thought to be true, myths became debunked. And it was right around that time, when Mediahub joined the New Balance fold. And it's funny, I remember an early conversation I had with, I keep singling him out here, but Alan Hapjohn, an early conversation I had with him was, we shared a similar mindset where New Balance should be on TV, right? It's like, and now flash forward to today, and again, now New Balance is in, NBA playoff games on TV. It's building up that shared.
I get texts from my family all the time. Did you see your ad? I'm like, yeah, we bought the ad. I saw it.
But it's building up that shared cultural understanding of New Balance, owning the present. And so I think that, going back, helping influence the shape of spend, where we started digesting things like, Les Binet and Peter Field, the long and the short of it, marketing effectiveness and context, and, really got to, okay, what is the optimal split between brand building, sales activation? It's right around 60-40. That's the best way to grow a brand long-term while capitalizing on short-term sales. And so now, working with each one of our regions are much closer to that North Star investment than we ever have been in the past. And I think that that's reflected in, the brand growth that we're seeing, because we are prioritizing the upper funnel. We are reaching out to new audiences and growing our brand that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the partnership between New Balance and Mediahub has definitely been working perfectly, because New Balance is just such a giant now. So congrats to you guys. Any questions before we wrap it up?
Take it. So I think when we think about Nike, what is highly encouraging is that I feel like New Balance is becoming much more of an it brand than Nike is. And so, it's funny, earlier I talked about how we really, in the social space, we are benchmarking ourselves against Nike because they are, top in the category. But to be honest, we don't, we sort of think about ourselves in our own sort of stratosphere. We don't get too bogged down by what Nike is doing. And that's a testament to, you talked about earnings calls at Nike. New Balance being fearlessly independent, we sort of do our own thing. We're able to have these authentic partnerships with athletes. We're able to do the things that might not scale because they are very meaningful. And I think that the consumer really gravitates towards that. It lends itself to an authentic approach to marketing, much more, the authenticity is there with New Balance, whereas with Nike, it's, more of a kind of, earnings giant is, and yeah, so I feel like there's more humanity with New Balance.
Yeah, I would just add community is a big part of what we try to do on the marketing side. Again, really focusing on what the consumer wants to see from us or how they're living their day-to-day lives. And, I think that could be seen through, I think through our running campaign, Run Your Way, and making sure that we're showcasing all different types of runners. I used to be someone who said, I'm not a runner, I only run 3 miles, and my colleague who on the running team was like, no, you're a runner. So I think that was the impetus to say okay, maybe we showcase the different body types and people and abilities that, all runners have at the end of the day. And then thinking through, again, those community engagements from run clubs to pop-ups for Coco to a number of different things we have planned throughout this year. So yeah, we of course have commercial goals, but I think the other thing we try to think through is, again, making sure we don't lose that connection with the people who are most important to us, who are consumers.
Any other questions?
Yes, I'm curious. So there's someone in my household who's very sneaker obsessed. And I find it really interesting because he kind of never needs sneakers, but he's always buying sneakers. And so I'm curious about how you guys think about your audiences and how I think there was one time where it was you needed sneakers because your sneakers were run out or you was something that you needed. And now I see with him that it isn't about that at all, right? It's he needs it because it's something that he feels like he needs to add to his collection. So do you guys have different audiences like that? Do you target someone who is essentially chasing the hottest new sneaker and has collections of sneakers versus I need this for a functional purpose, need a new running shoe or you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think so. Our lifestyle business operates a little bit differently, and so we definitely consider that type of consumer, and so we have collabs. We have some of the hottest collabs in the industry right now, specifically for that reason, because it's almost your sneaker collection becomes a badge of who you are and represents your identity, and it's not so much functional anymore. So I think that we're very much aware of that and consider that in how we approach our collabs and lifestyle business.
Yeah, and I think it's just not releasing a shoe anyone can make a nice looking shoe, but I think as we look to our collab partners, like a Joe Fresh Goods, for example, or then many others who say no, I have a story to tell here. And I think that those stories resonate with the consumer as we think through our go-to-market plan of how are we going to tease it, how are we going to launch it, how are we going to make sure that we say something bigger than we're just launching this new shoe. And I think maybe that's why the person in your family is so connected, because they don't need, people have plenty of shoes, but I think it's that connection to or seeing themselves in the campaigns we work on with our partners that makes them say no, I want to have this. And a lot of them collect or hold on to them or have some sort of emotional connection to what we create. So that's most important. Again, it goes back to that storytelling factor, and we don't take it lightly. We spend months and months and months to make sure we find that narrative that we think is going to work for both parties, both New Balance and our ambassadors, and the consumer. Make sure we again, stay top of mind for them.
Anybody else?
How do you balance the storytelling across the different categories, given that there's only one website? So like tennis versus running.
You're talking about we only have one website, so how do we balance it all?
Yeah.
A very large calendar and many emails. No, I'm kidding. We look at the moments that we have coming up. So, as we look through moments like the NFL Draft or MLB All-Star or US Open, we have Grade A's, which is one of our big brand expressions for lifestyle, and now it's cross-category. So, we look at not only the cultural and sporting moments, but the moments that are important for us as a brand, and then, depending, it's a regional thing as well. American football, big here, not so much for other regions. So, I think, again, as we're building out our marketing strategy, our e-com experience is top of mind, because that's, one of the best expressions that we can show our consumer. So again, that messaging, the imagery, the storytelling, it's all there. So even if you are just shopping for a shoe, I think of our Made in USA collection. We have, category landing pages that, yes, have our products, but they also show the workers in our Made in USA factories, and turning on the lights, you can see like, oh no, yes, we are manufacturing our 990s here in Massachusetts, and these are the people who are producing the products that you wear day to day. So we want to make sure that, yes, we know people are going to NewBalance.com to buy a pair of shoes, but we want to show you, that there's a bigger story here, because everything is intentional. So again, it's just making sure that design and overall narrative is shown through from, if you go to social, click through to nb.com, you're going to get the same message and you're going to have the same premium experience.
And then on the social side, obviously we have the main, New Balance accounts, social accounts, but then within Instagram, we also go deeper, and we have New Balance Running, New Balance Lifestyle, New Balance Hoops, New Balance Baseball. It allows us to do deeper storytelling for that audience that is interested in that particular type of content.
Anybody else?
Hi, you talked a little bit about shifting budget from efficiencies to more brand. I was curious, when you first started getting people on board, how you got more budget-conscious stakeholders on board, and particularly people who are focused on the bottom line and sales, into spending more on brand.
Yeah, it was definitely, and I mean, we're not fully all the way there yet in all regions. It's definitely been a gradual shift, and it's been a lot of, I guess, working with each one of our regional counterparts and helping them see that, and I guess those financial stakeholders too, helping them see that, there is a little bit of a longer term sort of lag time between when we talk about upper funnel, when we talk about brand building investment. It's not, that might create the saliency about New Balance that, lingers, and, they might buy something a couple of months, maybe even a year later, because they, saw this amazing television commercial. So I think it was a little bit of a leap of faith initially, but now it's starting to prove out in, marketing mix modeling and things of that nature, where we're seeing that, broadcast to television not only in and of itself is effective, but it also dials up the effectiveness of all other channels too, because, it's bringing in more audiences. And yeah, it was a difficult conversation initially, and it felt sort of like pie in the sky when we were like, hey, it would be great if New Balance was on broadcast 5 or 6 years ago when we had that conversation. And it felt daunting at the time because we did come from that environment of everything needs to have a high ROAS in the here and now, which lend itself to a lot of short-termism. But I think things like that weekly book club that we had, where it wasn't just myself and Frank, it was director level people making big decisions. Reading Byron Sharp, How Brands Grow alongside of us. And so I think that, going back to what has sort of been proven out there with marketing effectiveness, you talk about, again, I'll talk about Les Benet and Peter Field and all of that work, you start to see that, hey, there's real hard science here that, all of these brands are starting to see that 60-40 is the right way to go. So yeah, it was a little bit of hand holding first, but now it's I don't think we would go back to the old way.
Amazing. All right, well, I think we're at time, but thank you both so much for sharing all your amazing secrets of how New Balance has become the brand it is today.
Thank you.
Thank you.